Hello, everyone.
Hi.
It's quite the walkout song.
Yeah, I've heard that in a few years. Oldie but goodie.
Yes,
A moldy
exactly.
oldie today.
Exactly. So we have Steve Streit. Welcome.
This is true. Hi. How are we doing? How was the convention so far, or the conference?
We can't really see you guys.
Yeah.
So.
But I assume you're there?
Founder and CEO of Green Dot.
Yes, ma'am.
So I would venture to say the OG of fintech. You've been
The
around
OG fintech, yes.
for 2 decades, which is a lifetime.
It is insane. So I'm 57, but I was always like the young entrepreneur. Now people say, oh, he's the entrepreneur. I know. What happened?
In the room.
Yeah, that's right. I'm still not that. I'll never be old enough to be that.
Well, we'll talk about some of your different business models. You guys do a lot.
We do a lot.
You were the inventor, really, of the prepaid card, which enabled a lot of online shopping. You have a debit card. You are also a bank.
Yes.
So we'll start with sort of how those interact, what your business really is, and how you make money.
Okay.
Important, I guess. You're a public company.
It is.
People
it's
want
helpful.
To know how
it's
you're making
always
money.
helpful to make money.
So yeah, tell us a little bit about the different business lines.
Okay, well, the best way to think about, most of you, I think, would be familiar with Green Dot, yeah? Okay. Green Dot is sort of cut into 2 pieces, if you will. We have products and platforms. So a product means that we're creating a product that we intend to sell directly to the general public, either through one of our many websites or through a retailer. We're in, retailers everywhere, about 100,000 of them here. And every street corner. So anywhere in America, from Sitka, Alaska, to Puerto Rico, to Miami, Florida, anywhere you go, there's going to be a Green Dot retailer on some street corner somewhere. So we sell a lot of cards there. You can do cash deposits there, get a replacement card there if your card's lost or stolen, that kind of thing. And then we sell them online. The other part of our business, by the way, the brands we use are Green Dot, that would be our largest brand, and Go Bank would be another large consumer brand. MoneyPack would be another big consumer brand. Then the other side of our business is platforms. Platforms is BaaS, Banking as a Service, which is a collection of APIs that allow a qualified partner to come in and build whatever it is they want to build on the platform. And then we integrate our bank and our program management and all the things that go into doing that. That's a very complex business, actually. So that's BaaS. And then we have on the other platform our infamous Reload network. It's more formally called the Deposit Taking Network, and that network is at all of our retailers. And so whether you're Green Dot or hundreds of other banks that use us and programs, you can walk into a Walgreens, a CVS, a Rite Aid, a Walmart, Dollar General, a Dollar, Family Dollar, whatever it is, and you can give that cashier cash, and he or she will hit a button, and that money will automatically appear on your bank account. And we do that for all types of programs. So that's a platform business. And then, so you have BaaS, you have the Reload Network or the Deposit Network, and then coming soon, next year will be BOSS that we've announced publicly. Little B, capital OS, just like you have iOS, this is BOS, which stands for Banking Operating System. And it's a developer's platform, which is different from the enterprise BaaS platform. That sort of takes BaaS, which is a big, hairy beast that does huge programs at high scale, and it takes our APIs and all of our risk controls and kind of breaks it into bite-sized goodies, so that developers, even if it's just 1 or 2 people working on an app or something, can incorporate banking into their app just by getting a license to use the platform and reading the SDK and doing their own thing. So products and platform.
Very nice. So we'll jump into the first acronym, BaaS.
Okay.
So this banking as a service idea, you mentioned on the first quarter earnings call as a big area of growth. What does that look like, and how do you see that playing out?
Well, we think it's going to play out pretty well. It's only, it was a year and a half ago or 2 years ago that we came up with the idea. Maybe 2.5 years ago. It took about a year to build.
Did you coin the phrase BaaS, by the way?
I'd like to take credit for it, but I stole it from a guy who did invent it. It was actually an analyst, and I was trying to explain the model to him, and I think I just called it Open Banking Platform or something, which didn't have a good ring to it. And he said, how about calling it BaaS, like SaaS, Software as a Service? This is Banking as a Service. And I said, love it. And BaaS was born. If you can't be original, steal originally, is what I say. Anyhow, but that's how it came up. But Banking as a Service, and so that platform has done well, because even though it's such a new product for us, oh my gosh, it's Apple Pay Cash, and it's all the Intuit banking products. It's all the Uber products. Most Uber drivers get paid by Green Dot products that are built atop of BaaS. Stash, which is a robo-investor. Wealthfront's a new client. And a whole bunch of others that I'm not remembering, but they're important clients. But
we glossed over some of your clients, by the way.
Apple, did I say Apple?
Apple,
Walmart.
Uber, Walmart, Wealthfront.
Yep. So it's a good collection, and we tend to do very, very well with the big, beefy enterprise clients, because to roll out programs at that size and scale, we have over 50 million people on the platform, customers. You have to have a certain kind of infrastructure. It has to be made a certain kind of a way. You have to have a bank that's well suited for it, and we have our bank integrated as the issuer. And you have to have a lot of capital. A lot of people don't understand how important the bank is. The bank legally owns the program, always. Whatever you think you are or aren't, whatever bank you're hitched to legally owns your program and your customers. And if you think you're going to grow big and you don't understand your bank's capital structure or how they fit with their regulators, you could get a really nasty surprise one day because somebody says, oh, you can't add any more deposits. Well, what do you mean? We're about to launch this big campaign. We ran out of capital, or our regulator wants us to go from 8% to 10% capital. And so that's why when you think of these very big companies, they tend to like Green Dot because our technology is at high scale. Our program management, meaning call centers and stuff, is high scale. The technology is made to deal with lots of things without blowing up. And the bank has a lot of capital. We have almost $2 billion in the bank.
So you're not the only ones doing that. It seems like there's been sort of a revival of community banks also doing that. You have names like Cross River and Sutton Bank, and it's not the Wall Street guys. Who is your competition in the BaaS area?
Oh gosh, well, I think people first come to us as a BaaS client thinking of technology. The bank kind of comes with it, and my experience has been that most people don't really understand the bank, so they sort of get it. The big clients do. Apple does, Walmart definitely does. That's really where they're focused because they understand the headline risk of having a bank that blows up. So I think the larger clients do greatly do appreciate the bank. For a lot of our other clientele, they're more interested in the technology of it, and you have a number of platforms. There was nobody when we came up with this a couple years ago. But that's very typical. I don't mean to say that in an egotistical or braggadocious way, but it's factual that Green Dot will invent a product, we'll make it a hit, and then we'll have a lot of people come in and do it. And sometimes they do it better than we do, and it's like, oh my God, they took our toys and made a better toy. And then we'll have to go back and redo it again.
Some of the companies that you enable compete with the consumer-facing products that you have.
Sure.
How do you think about that and not allowing them to sort of, or your platform to cannibalize?
So every so often you'll have an employee who may be new who'll say, hey, I got an idea. We could really help ourselves by being protectionist, And whether you're dealing with world political issues or clients, I don't believe in it. I don't like it. I think that we should be good because we're good. And I think people should buy our products because we're clever enough to make a product that's worthy of people buying it. If the products aren't good or there are others that are better, then that's the way the ball bounces, in which case, build a better product. But I don't think we can or should succeed by being protectionist. And so we eat our own food. In fact, we have a rule at Green Dot. We have a lot of technology folks. We have about 700 or 800 full-time technologists, and that's a lot for a company our size. And when they write code for a new product, whether it's one that we've invented internally or one that a partner's building, you write the code to the platform, then you consume the platform's APIs. So by doing that, every new program we make makes the platform that much more robust. And a lot of inventions have come up that way. Stash has this wonderful bank account program. In fact, it just won FinTech Bank Account of the Year at the Lendit conference a few months, maybe a couple months ago. And time flies, and it was a very exciting moment. But they took our APIs that we were using for rewards on another program, on GoBank or something, and they said, hey, we like those APIs, we're gonna use them for this. But the fact is, with every new program, the platform just gets that much more robust, and that means the next partner benefits from everything that came before.
So part of the reason you're able to do this is because you are a bank.
Yes.
And you've got others in the fintech space looking to go there, Square, for an ILC,
sure.
Robinhood.
Yeah.
What would you tell maybe people in the audience that are thinking about it, running fintech companies? What advice would you give somebody that's looking to start a completely new digital bank?
Oh my gosh. The reason I'm being thoughtful is in another part of my life, I'm a board member of the Federal Reserve. So I'm a Fed board member for District 12, which is the Western United States. And I'm a big fan of the Fed and of regulators, and so I want to be thoughtful when I say this. I think most of the folks that I meet who say, oh, we want to become a bank, I always say, watch what you wish for, because you may get it and then go, oh my God, what have I done? Being a bank is really hard. There's different degrees of hard. In other words, if you're getting together with a bunch of doctors or whatever, and you want to have a de novo bank charter, it's a community bank in your hometown, and you're going to do it for small business loans or whatever, that I think is still a fairly straightforward thing, and you can do that. And the regulators, typically in that case the FDIC, would be hospitable towards it. It would be very traditional. If you want to do the kinds of things that we're doing, the amount of capital, we have hundreds of millions of dollars that have to sit in the bank. When you have a partner, let's pretend, any of our partners are all big, and they say, hey, Green Dot, we're going to do this new product on BaaS. We think we're going to generate $1 billion of deposits, which is great, right? And we do $45 billion a year in deposits. So that's great. We'd love the extra business, but that means that to the banker, he says, hey, Steve, we need another $100 million downstream from the holding company into the bank to comply with our capital threshold. If you're Green Dot, that's our CFO hitting a button and the money gets downstreamed. But what if you were a community bank? Where would he come up with $100 million? You don't have the market cap to do it. So that's when you tell the program you can't. Or I'm going to have to split up your business among 20 different banks. But the program and the way it works, meaning the terms and conditions and how it's issued and the risk policies and your limits and all the things that go into your AML program and all the things that are so vital, your third-party vendor management. These are all things that are vitally important if you're a regulator, for a good reason, by the way. That's a good thing. That makes it very hard when you're using a bunch of banks, So yeah, the bank's important, and I think it's worthwhile to become one. It's an honor to be a bank. A bank is a civic institution, like a synagogue or a library or a church or a high school. If you do it right, you're part of your community. Even though you're virtual, your community is America in our case, and we care a lot about that. So we want to be a good citizen as a bank because you have money coming in, and if we do something stupid, I don't care who the partner is, the bank's in charge. If we do something stupid and allow dangerous money coming into the system, not only is there a lot of legal liability for me as a CEO and for the company, but who wants to own a bank that allowed some guy to blow up something in America? You'd feel horrible. You'd feel disgusted with yourself. So we look at these things as being really big deals, and when companies come into banking, without fail, they don't understand that part of it. When I talk to them, they're thinking, yeah, I'll get a bank, and I get deposit, and I can loan, and I can save 8 basis points from what I'm paying this other bank over here. And I'm like, yeah, but do you know what you're in for? Just the numbers of people and systems and compliance and the risk you have and the regulatory risk of what you're doing and the systems you'll need to build, and you'll be adding $20 million a year just in SG&A and all that risk. So it's a blessing to be a bank, but it is very, very difficult, and my advice would be think thrice before doing that.
And the regulatory burden is on you. So if you've got a partner or one of these fintech startups that does something out of line, how do you defend against that?
You don't. You ask them not to do that.
Yeah.
The big partners don't. Look, Green Dot is a serious company as it relates to these issues, but so is Apple, so is Walmart, so is Intuit. They're not. These are companies who are as worried about their reputation, certainly as much, if not more, than we're worried about ours.
Does that make you nervous that you could do something that would harm Apple's reputation?
It doesn't make me nervous, but I'm keenly aware of it. We try really hard not to do stupid things, because and it's easy to do it. Like it sounds like, well, yes, there's a bright line of what constitutes stupidity and not, but it's not that way. It can often be very gray, and what seems like a great idea Tuesday afternoon in your committee meeting, you look back on it a month later or 2 months and go, wow, that was really risky, and I didn't intend it to be that way. So yeah, you take that responsibility seriously, but I think our partners know we do, which is why they trust us.
Interesting. Well, let's pivot to sort of you guys as a public company.
Yeah.
Which means you issue shares, and those are down about 35% this year.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah. So
Wait,
just a reminder,
huh.
your stock is down.
I didn't know. Holy cow. Okay.
So
take a note.
Different than some of these private companies.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's something that Wall Street isn't seeing? Are you undervalued?
Oh, I'd never comment on valuation. That's a CEO no-no. But I will say this, that look, we had 3 years of unbelievable growth. I forget what our revenue was in 2016, but I'm going to guess and say $600 million or 700, somewhere in that range, you know. And now we're well over $1 billion. That's a lot of virgin organic revenue. Only part of it was acquisition, a small part of it. And the rest of it was new ideas and selling more of what you sell. So you have this big, big growth, and then the gift for growing so big is that now you have to grow 10% above that and generate that incremental organic revenue. And so, you know, while we hit our Q1 numbers, I did tell the market, we try to be incredibly transparent with the market. The Steve you hear on the broadcast is not different than the Steve you're going to hear in the committee room or internally in the boardroom. And that was, look, we've got competition, new competition. We have new products that are really cool. And there's a certain segment of our customer base, which are the heritage, legacy, cash reloading customers that have eroded. We have about 6 million active customers, meaning that on any given quarter, 6 million people are actively using their cards. And there's different definitions all over the place, but that's the one we use. And it's a conservative definition. It's a pro-investor definition, if you will. It's very conservative. And that you can see where we've lost a couple 100,000 customers in this customer segment, which on one hand isn't the end of the world, but on the other hand, it's money. And it adds up quarter over quarter, so that represents, you know, a headwind to revenue. And as such, we got to retrench. We have to take a $60 million reserve that we're going to do for marketing to roll out these new products that we think are really cool, and hopefully we'll turn the world upside down. Everybody will ooh and ah. And that we'll get back to a growth trajectory with those legacy products. But we have 6 divisions and 30 products in the company, and for 3 years, every one of those products was spinning like a top without wobble. And this year is a bit of a reset year for that. And the punishment is great. You're going to be at $50 and not $90. And we understand that. It's not pleasant. Our investors don't like it. I'm the largest individual shareholder still after all these years in the company. As a person, we have institutions that own more. Nobody likes that. But it's part of investing in the future. And one of the oddest parts as an entrepreneur, but also a CEO of a public company and a bank holding company, is it's human nature. You want to do well for your quarter, and we always do, and for many quarters we have, which is a really good thing. But I'm actually paid to do something different. I'm paid to think about 3 years from now. And in fact, the way I get paid, my compensation is based on 3-year total shareholder return, not any one quarter. Because you drive the company into the ground if you're overly focused on the quarter. But I know that in order to compete with all these new cool startups that are in the market, I can't say we're number one, we're number one. It's irrelevant. Nobody cares about that. They care about how they're feeling about your products at any point in time. So if you're going to invent new products, and presumably you want to tell people about them, then you have to market. If you have to market under GAAP accounting, you have to take the charge the instant you run that commercial or whatever it might be, or buy that digital ad, and that impacts your earnings per share. So we said, look, we're going to have a rough second half from an earnings per share point of view, but the reason is we believe we have to reinvigorate our product category, and this will be best for the company long term, but it's not going to be a pretty year.
So private investors and venture capitalists seem to be a bit more forgiving on the revenue, on some of the metrics that Wall Street seems to be punishing your stock for. Does that make you think about what would have happened if we stayed private, and what's going on with some of these valuations in private markets?
Listen, these things are cyclical. And right now, I think it's fair to say, and by the way, God bless the private companies who are doing this. There's nothing wrong with it. And in my other life, I have a VC firm that I have a team that runs for me, and they do a great job. And so we you know, I have exposure to a lot of these different things. And there's nothing wrong with the valuations. I think they're unhinged at times. And I can tell you as a VC and a guy who's been doing this for a long time that everything is awesome until it's not. And that's literally how it goes. You're in a boardroom and like, hey, you know, we're growing. We added another X million this, or we did, you know, the revenue is great, go. And we're losing $100 million a year, but we're going to do another $200 million. Oh, great, that's good. And it's awesome. High fives. Yeah. We're number one. You know, we're chest thumping. We just are. And then a quarter or two goes by, and somebody in the boardroom says, "Hey, Joe, the entrepreneur, look, we've been doing, you know, a lot of raises, and now you're telling me you need an H round or something, or an I round or whatever, a Q round, and you don't want to be down rounded, so now you have, God knows, a $3 billion valuation." But we're not making money, and how are we going to make money? And are you sure this is the right format? And everybody gets spooky, and that's the moment. And that's when the entrepreneur says, yeah, my board, like they've always been really supportive, but Steve, do you have any advice? They kind of, kicked my ass in the last meeting, and now we're supposed to like conserve burn, but we have this big campaign planned, and that's what I mean by everything's great until it isn't. And these things are highly cyclical, and I think that valuations in the private market are somewhat unhinged. I made a joke, and it was only a joke, but it was funny. In that room, anyhow. And the joke was we'd be worth so much more if we only didn't make any money. And so, we're hinged to a certain amount of revenue and earnings, and so there's a real thing. So the promise and the dream of what could be is always going to be sexier than what is. I don't care what your dream is. And we're what is and deal with what is if you're an entrepreneur. And I have this in other parts of my life, so there's nothing wrong with it. There are other projects I'm on where it's all in the future, and it's all, look at this, and that's fun. But there will be a day of reckoning. It happens, not sometimes, every single time, when there'll be a group of companies that truly are the real thing, and they'll get funded, and they'll do well, and they'll grow, and one day go public, and they'll have their day in the sun. It's a beautiful thing. It's capitalism. It's America.
What is the reckoning? At what point? I mean, is it when these companies go public?
No. The day of reckoning, well, it depends. The day of reckoning, from where I've seen it, is when you're in that board meeting in that private company and your lead VC, or maybe the second guy who doesn't feel quite as rich as your lead VC, says, look, who's fooling who? Our burn rate's out of sight. We're not making the progress we said. You're never going to make money, and we're just going to keep applying money to this. At what point do we see a turnaround here? And then everybody gets very serious. Like all the jokes stop and all the buttons go. It's like suddenly gets very formal really fast. And it's just as old as time. It's just how it works.
We saw with Finn, they closed up shop, and it seems like they have the runway to be able to say, okay, that didn't work.
Yeah.
Is that going to happen with any of these fintech companies?
Oh, there's no question. Yeah, no question. Look, first of all, Jamie Dimon, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this or not, but definitely the coolest CEO in banking. I mean, he's just, I don't think there's a better CEO of a public bank than Jamie Dimon.
He's underrated. We'll get to that.
I'm sure listen, I'm not saying there's a warm fuzz you got to work for. I'm sure that there's, that. But you're never going to challenge his brain. And I think he's I guess, as he looked at the results and said, why are we doing this? What's the goal here? Kill it. That's my guess, only a guess. I don't know. But I think for venture capital firms, at some point that day of reckoning happens. Some will make it, some won't. And we went through this in 2012 when our stock got hammered. It went all the way down to $9 a share. You think 50 is bad. 50 I can take. $9 a share. Because everybody thought that Chase, which had Chase Liquid, and American Express that had both Serve and Bluebird, and Western Union that had some card, and everybody had a card. And they were all free. Free, free, free. Amex was paying you $25 to get the card. Not only was it free, they'd pay you. And people, said, who the hell's going to buy Green Dot when you have free? And we just sort of held our nose and stayed focused and focused on our customers. And one by one, those products were shuttered because it turns out that even gigantic big companies like American Express don't want to lose hundreds of millions of dollars a year. So it takes time, but nevertheless, it's great competition, and it makes us want to be better, and hopefully with good effort and a clean agenda and honest hard work from an awesome team. Green Dot team members are truly the best in banking. We'll succeed as we have for 20 years.
So who do you think the winners will be when that day of reckoning comes?
Oh, I got to answer that.
Either what business models? Is there anyone out there that is impressing you and you say, okay, that valuation is somewhere in the ballpark?
Well, it's hard to know the valuations because to me to know that, I'd need to know the burn rate and information that as a private person I don't have. So, you only know the headline growth rates, and those are always kind of make-believe. So you don't really know. But I'm sure these are smart investors, and the valuations are probably relative to where they think the companies can go. I don't know that. Do I think that every VC will continue to plow in money into fintech? I don't think that. I think there's a day of reckoning to come for fintech. And I think if the market sours, and we're starting to see signs of that in the macroeconomic trends of the country, and if that takes hold, at that point you'll see a lot of VCs go, up, stop, and you'll see the cycle begin. It just happens every 10 years like clockwork. This expansive economy we're in is unusual by its length and its vitality. But all things do have a cycle, and this will too.
We'll end on that. And before we do, the over-under game that I promised.
Yeah, okay.
So let's see here. So overrated, underrated. We've got a list. So the first one,
yes.
I know as a client, so maybe we'll switch it to it's Chime, but digital banks.
And by the way, Chime is run by a wonderful guy named Chris Britt, who was our head of product ages ago. He used to work at Visa. Great guy. And they're a client of our Reload network, and I wish them nothing but tremendous success. Guys, if you're in the club of entrepreneurs, there's no better thing in America. It's just exciting, and I'm so proud of him and happy for him. But without speaking about Chime per se, because how the hell do I know if they're underrated? I'd say digital banking is overrated at the moment because of the number of participants. But make no mistake, you won't be acquiring your bank account from a branch. So I think that way it's appropriately rated, I guess.
Amazon.
Appropriately rated.
It's not an object.
What am I going to say? You know? They're a great company, amazing company.
Fair enough. Plaid.
Plaid. I'm going to say underrated. I think they have done there's another brilliant young entrepreneur. You know, I think they've done a hell of a good job of putting together an ecosystem that you need. We use them, everyone. I don't know anyone who doesn't use Plaid. God bless them, they're kicking ass. Yeah.
Love it. Wells Fargo.
Wells Fargo, I think, is underrated. You know, they've had their challenges, but they're a big bank with a lot of customers, and they will come through.
Square.
Square, oh my gosh. These are all potential partners. They're a great company. I don't know what to say.
All right, the last one, blockchain.
Blockchain, I'm going to say overrated.
I think you're in good company there. We've heard that a couple times today. Well, Steve, thank you very much. Thank you, guys. And next up, we have Kyle Stock from Bloomberg.
Very good. Yeah. Thank you, everybody.